Only this and nothing more. Frustration has defined the Ravens' last 3 postseasons.
This was just disastrous football by the Baltimore Ravens.
But their spirit and will have brought them back to this moment. Explosive, punishing. Only this and nothing more. It's been a season of firsts for Houston. Young. Hungry. Determined. But with an edge.
It takes men to win these kind of games. Be men.
Feed the beast! Feed the beast!
Punish somebody. Straight up.
Let's play the most physical game we ever played in our life. It's gonna be one of them games.
The champions of the North win or nothing more. The champions of the South. Anything is possible in a year of firsts. This is the AFC Divisional Playoff.
With more than 71,000 raucous and rabid fans providing the backdrop, we remind you can get coverage of every NFL game on NFL Mobile only from Verizon. It's been 5 years since Ravens fans have had the opportunity to cheer their team here at home in a postseason game. Ray Lewis and his mates see it as a stepping stone in their vision of a championship season. In the AFC playoff picture, New England knocked off Denver last night. The Patriots now await today's winner for the AFC Championship 1 week from today. Hi everyone, Greg Gumbel along with my Hall of Fame partner Dan Deerdorf. Welcome to Baltimore. Neither the Texans nor the Ravens lack for motivation here today, but for the Houston Texans, this is a tall order, Dan, because frankly, the Baltimore Ravens just don't lose very much here at home.
Greg, in the regular season, since John Harbaugh became coach these last 4 years, amazingly, 27-5 in this building. Most impressive. Now, it's because they have a lot of really good football players. That's the biggest reason. And a lot of them reside on defense. We're talking about Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs, Haloti Ngata, Ed Reed. Keep in mind, 29 Pro Bowls collectively among that group. And again, on offense, it all revolves around Ray Rice, the NFL's yard from scrimmage leader this season. It revolves around him.
Now, for Houston, this is rare air. The franchise is in its first ever postseason. It comes off its first ever playoff victory a week ago. It has suffered some tough losses in the lineup, but a couple of guys have stepped up.
Yeah, they really have. And of course, they rely on their defense, but the guys on offense that are really going to be under scrutiny today starts with their rookie quarterback, TJ Yates. This is his 7th start. It's his 2nd playoff start, and their entire offense revolves around their running game. Last year's NFL rushing champion, Arian Foster. If he has success today, so will the Texans.
2 division champions about to face off. The winner punches a ticket to Foxborough and a spot in the AFC title game next Sunday. The Texans and the Ravens next here on CBS.
CBS Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
There is no way around it. It's a cold winter day here in Baltimore. Temperature is 31. It feels a little less than 24, but it is clear and sunny. And as Dan Deerdorf calls it, a perfect day of football.
Well, the players don't mind it. The big question is the wind. It's about 10, 12 miles an hour. It's certainly less than it has been. We'll see if it's a factor as the game goes on.
Baltimore won the toss. They have deferred, which means the Houston Texans will get their hands on the ball first. Daniel Manning is deep and we're underway. Manning a yard deep in the end zone. Roamed around on the near side. 35 out to midfield and bumped out of bounds in Baltimore territory by Tom Zibikowski.
Well, I don't know what Gary Kubiak had in mind as to how his team was going to start this game, but let me tell you something. If he thought of this, he's delighted, because what a way for Daniel Manning to get his team started on the Baltimore side of the 50. And this Baltimore defense, which is the backbone of this team, has to prove themselves right off the bat.
A 60-yard kickoff return by Daniel Manning to get field position for the Texans at the Baltimore 41. Yates, far side. Andre Johnson, out of bounds.
And a good, safe start for T.J. Yates. Good call by Kubiak. T.J. Yates is very comfortable on the move. And as a quarterback, you've got to be comfortable on the move in this offense. This is Mike Shanahan's old offense from the Denver Broncos. Lots of boots, lots of waggles. The quarterback gets out on the edge. And that was a very safe start for Yates.
Gary Kubiak says Yates moves better than the two quarterbacks who preceded him, Matt Leinart and Matt Shaw. Straight drop this time, and throwing and complete to about the 25-yard line to Andre Johnson. Houston up front, left tackle Dwayne Brown will be facing off with Terrell Suggs more often than not this afternoon. And they need a strong ground game out of Arian Foster. 1,200 rushing yards on the year, but only 49 in the first meeting with Baltimore 3 months ago. 2nd and 5. On the left side, Arian Foster, close to a first down. Baltimore's defense ranked 3rd in the NFL. Pro Bowler Haloti Ngata, a big part of it. 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries. Speaking of Pro Bowlers, 2 of them at linebacker in Ray Lewis and number 55, Terrell Suggs, who chalked up a career-high 14 sacks. And in the secondary, an extraordinary postseason performer in Ed Reed, 7 interceptions in 9 career playoff games. On 3rd and short yardage, Foster comes down short of the first down. Ed Reed coming up from his safety spot.
This Baltimore defense does a tremendous job of setting a hard edge on the side. And that time Terrell Suggs gets upfield. Ray Lewis scrapes upfield while he doesn't make the tackle. He forces Foster to go parallel to the line of scrimmage, where Ed Reed finishes it off. Disappointing to have a 3rd and 1 and not be able to convert it for the Texans.
Neil Rackers from 40 yards out. And it is good. So Daniel Manning with a 60-yard return. Neil Rackers 40-yard field goal. Texans draw first blood 3-0. That's Houston head coach Gary Kubiak, after years of knocking on the playoff door, finally cracked through this season. And on the other side of the field, boy, what a run John Harbaugh has had in his 4th season here in Baltimore. 4 years, 48 wins, including a 27-5 record here at home.
It is a home record that any team in the NFL would be envious of. Good stuff.
Only the 2nd time all season long Baltimore's been scored on an opening drive.
But that was a really good series, though, for the Baltimore defense.
That's Lardarius Webb, number 21 deep. This will be returnable from 2 yards deep. Right up the middle, across the 20, out to about the 23, and a loose ball. And a pile up at about the 22. And the officials converge. And it belongs to the Baltimore Ravens.
Let's watch at the very end of this. Webb. When does the ball come out? Oh, you can see it is out, and that is a very fortuitous bounce, and it goes right to a Raven. McClellan, I think, makes the recovery. And Lardarius Webb, very fortunate that didn't result in a turnover.
So Baltimore starts from its own 23. He gives to Ray Rice, and Rice maybe a yard at most. It is a veteran offensive line for the Ravens and a giant left tackle in Bryant McKinney, tasked with protecting Joe Flacco's blind side. Flacco, plenty of talented receivers, and that includes running back Ray Rice, who led the NFL in yards from scrimmage this season.
Well, Bryant McKinney mans the left tackle position. The Ravens signed him at the end of August, and he has filled in pretty well. One of the biggest players in the National Football League. He and Connor Barwin have a pretty good day today.
Flacco, far side of the field, down the sideline, it is incomplete. Intended for Torrey Smith and covered by Jonathan Joseph.
Well, that is a different look that the Texans are going to throw at the Ravens today. They're going to match Jonathan Joseph up with Torrey Smith. They didn't do that in the first game they played back in October, and that is outstanding coverage by Joseph. But look at that throw from Joe Flacco, how he does get it right onto the hands of Torrey Smith. That would have been a tough catch, but that was some throw by Joe Flacco.
So now Flacco faced with a 3rd and 10. On the move, throws far sideline, and that's incomplete. And the Ravens will kick it away.
Well, credit the Texans that time with some really solid coverage, even getting out of the pocket and extending the play. Joe Flacco couldn't find an open receiver. And rather than force it, punt it away.
Jacoby Jones is deep. He has a 79-yard punt return for a touchdown this season. Good kick from Cook. Bounces inside the 25 and touched by Jacoby Jones. Recovered inside the 5-yard line by Baltimore.
What could Jacoby Jones have been thinking in an attempt to handle that football? All right, right there, it's going to hit, it's going to hit the ground, but there's no upside to trying to handle that when you've got a player right on top of you. Kerry Williams is right there, and then Williams very smartly tackles Jones before he can get in on the football.
Jimmy Smith covered for the Ravens at the 2.
But that was just a boneheaded play by Jacoby Jones and a smart play by Williams, then holding him up.
On 1st and goal, this is Rice. Rice to the goal line and comes up short. No touchdown call as yet.
Well, let's take a good out of the I formation. This is just follow your fullback. Vontae Leach, look at that block Leach gets. He takes D'Amico Ryans all the way back into the end zone. It's a real luxury for a running back to get to follow a sledgehammer like Vontae Leach into the hole.
Vontae Leach going to a second Pro Bowl. Flacco with the keep. No call yet.
Well, they're not going to give it.
And it'll be 3rd and goal.
They're not going to give it to the Ravens. I don't think there is not a whole lot of separation between the tip of this football and the goal line. Boy, that when you look at the search, you can't see Flacco or the football, but I got to say, when you look at that surge, it certainly looked like he was across the plane. But you can't see it.
Flacco throwing. Touchdown. Chris Wilson, the number 3 tight end.
Well, Chris Wilson is not a target very often here, and again, he just slow blocked, and even though that ball was back behind him, he did a pretty good job of digging and getting it. But the play action here worked. Wilson disregarded by the Texans defense.
Chris Wilson's first touchdown catch of this season. I'm double checking numbers, Dan. That might be his first reception of this season. Cundiff with the extra point. It's good. 1:51 to play in the first. Jacoby Jones with the really bad move, recovered by the Ravens, and then Flacco to Wilson for 6. Cundiff out of the 7th, 7-3 Baltimore.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Verizon, the exclusive carrier of the Galaxy Nexus by Samsung. And by Acura. Acura Advance.
9 minutes, 51 seconds in Baltimore. Opportunistic off the recovery, and Jacoby Jones has a lot to make up for already in this game. So once again, Daniel Manning is deep. On the opening kick, he returned it 60 yards to set up the Houston field goal. Short kick. Manning from the 3. And spinning across the 20. And stood up at about the 22-yard line.
Well, Joe Flacco, this is a look at that touchdown. He's going to come out. He wants to fake it to Rice, but he ends up having contact with his fullback, Vontae Leach. And from that moment on, Joe has to improvise a little bit. And that is what you call a tendency breaker by throwing it to Chris Wilson, who's primarily a blocker. And as Greg said, his first reception of the season here in the playoffs is a doozy.
So on first down now, here's Arian Foster, and Foster off the right side out to about the 25-yard line. Foster in the first meeting between these teams, 15 carries for 49 rushing yards.
No, it was not a successful day, pretty much shut down by the Ravens defense. But now keep one thing in mind, Andre Johnson did not play in that game. And as a game-breaking wide receiver, Andre Johnson dictates a lot of times that you keep a safety deep. It's a real plus in the running game.
Yates on the move and throws out of bounds. Nearest to the ball was Joel Dreesen, the tight end.
And again, this is just a staple of this Houston offense. Based off the play action, you fake it, and then it's the boot out to the opposite direction with the tight end running a drag route underneath, and then the receiver, that time Kevin Walter, on a crossing pattern from the other side, but the Ravens were all over it.
So now Yates and the Texans with a 3rd and 7. From the shotgun, pass is incomplete, in and out of the arms of Kevin Walter.
Well, again, TJ Yates is a rookie, but he's not playing like it here early in this game. He delivers a perfect pass to Kevin Walter, who's normally a very sure-handed guy, and that just bounces right off his chest.
So once again, Webb is deep back at his own 30-yard line for the upcoming kick from 43-year-old Matt Turk. Fair catch called for and made by Webb, and good field position for Joe Flacco and the Baltimore Ravens at their own 40-yard line when we come back. 8:49 to play in the first. Weather here in Baltimore makes you think of Hawaii, doesn't it, Dan?
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
Stop complaining about this weather. It's actually, as long as the sun is out and the wind doesn't become too blustery, I can tell you from a player's perspective, they have no problem with this at all. If you'll notice, a lot of short sleeves on both teams. The majority. Pretty impressive.
On first down, this is Ray Rice, and Rice with running room. Just across the 45 to the 46-yard line, a gain of 6, and it'll be 2nd and 4.
Well, Ray Rice was pretty vocal earlier in the season after a loss to Seattle, saying look, we have got to run the football. Even if the look isn't the greatest, we need to run the football. And I've been beating people one-on-one all my life. And a little graze of the face mask right there. Brian Cushing had it for a nanosecond and let it go.
Flacco to throw on 2nd and 4. Sideline it is. Pulled in. And that'll be ruled a completion inside the 35 to 33 to Anquan Boldin.
And that's a matchup we're going to see most of the day. That's Anquan Boldin against Kareem Jackson, the second-year corner. And even looking back into the sun, look at Boldin concentrate on that football, and an outstanding back shoulder throw from Joe Flacco. Anquan Boldin, I believe, is going to be a busy guy today.
New set of downs for the Ravens from the 33. This is Rice. You think of Rice as such a youngster, and he's only in his 4th season, but what a leader he has become on this team.
Oh, really? And you know, his mentor is Ray Lewis, and been pretty well documented what a wonderful relationship that they have. And Ray were in together on Friday when we talked to them, and Ray Lewis said, look, when you have a beast, you feed the beast. We had a beast here in Jamal Lewis. We gave him the football. We have one now in Ray Rice. We can't be remiss and leave him out of the game plan where he's not revolving. Everything revolves around him.
On 2nd and 4, Flacco with time, going to go for the end zone. Tipped and falls incomplete, intended for Torrey Smith, and Jonathan Joseph was right there.
Well, we're going to take one more look at this reception by Anquan Boldin. The question is, did he get both feet in bounds? Yeah, he's got a hand down, he's got his left foot down, but his right foot does come down out of bounds. But
Flacco on 3rd and 4, holding the ball, and the ball is loose on the ground. Pete Morelli, our referee, says it is still Baltimore football.
Take a look at this. Brooks Reed there, number 58, and he's the guy that, even though if Smith hits him from behind, it looked like Reed with his right hand slaps down on the right arm of Joe Flacco. This is where the pocket really disintegrates from both sides. Smith from the left, Reed from the right.
And now Billy Cundiff will line up a 48-yard field goal attempt. He kicked 5 against Houston in Week 6. And chalks one up here from 48 yards out. 6:02 to play in the first. Baltimore's lead is 10-3.
NFL on CBS is sponsored by Chili's $20 dinner for 2. All day, every day. Only at Chili's. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
A look at City Hall here in Baltimore, Maryland, where they have brandished the Baltimore logo out in front for the occasion.
You know, this city, Greg, they love their football, the tradition going all the way back to the Colts, Johnny U, and they are in love with these Ravens, and it's been a fun couple of days here. People are nuts over this home playoff game. They've been waiting 5 years.
Cundiff kicking away. And Manning will not get to return this one. So Yates and company will start from their own 20-yard line. Get real-time scores, live video, and breaking news on your phone. To get the free app, simply call *CBS from your mobile device or go to cbssports.com/mobile. Well, you mentioned earlier, Dan, TJ Yates. It's early yet, but early is when you would expect to see any possible playoff jitters. Arian Foster with the carry for about a yard. And he admitted to us that he did have some jitters last week against Cincinnati.
Yeah, he said early on, I'll admit it, I was feeling it, but then he settled down. What he really needs is for Arian Foster and his running game to get going, because he cannot be forced into third and long situations on a regular basis. That'll be disastrous. This is a team that does the best in the NFL on first down, averaging over 6 yards a play.
Yates, little screen to Foster, and Foster dragged down at about the 23 by Terrell Suggs.
Well, those of you that don't know a whole lot about Taylor Jonathan Yates, the 9th quarterback taken in the draft, 5th overall, played his football at University of North Carolina, not exactly a hotbed of quarterbacks. He's won a playoff game, though, in his rookie year, makes him only 1 of 5, and he's a very impressive young man when you sit down to talk to him. But third and longs will test him.
From the shotgun, Yates almost intercepted. It falls incomplete. Ray Lewis was there.
Well, Ladarius Webb has the coverage behind Andre Johnson, but Ray Lewis undercuts it, and I don't think T.J. Yates thinks he's going to get in on it. But Ray, and you can see the ball just bounces off of Ray's shoulders. Oh, Ray is normally a sure-handed guy. 31 career interceptions, and he's grinding away and pretty upset with himself that he didn't get number 32.
Second straight 3 and out. High kick from Turk. And Webb juggles it, but makes the catch at about his own 32-yard line. Just under 4.5 to play in the first quarter, and when we come back, Joe Flacco back to work on offense. He and the Ravens holding a 10-3 lead. Back in Baltimore on a cold and clear day. 4:29 to play in the first quarter.
Well, we've already seen Joe Flacco take some deep shots with this Baltimore offense. They feel that the way the Texans play defense in their secondary, they play a lot of man, a lot of quarters, that he thinks they can get over the top against them.
Ricky Williams is in the backfield for the first time today for the Ravens. Flacco with time. This side of the field incomplete. Intended for 81 Anquan Bolden. It'll be 2nd and 10. Joe Flacco was doing a little jousting with the media this week.
Yeah, he really did. He talked to them, and he was being semi-facetious when he was talking about, if we win this game, I won't get any of the credit and whatnot, and it kind of went viral and it went nationally. And, Joe's just got to understand that when you looked at his words just typed out on a piece of paper, it looked like he was whining. I don't believe he was, but
this is Ricky Williams. And Williams across the 35 to the 37-yard line.
It's just when you're the quarterback of an NFL football team, you're going to get a lot of attention. And talking to the media along the lines of, I just don't get the respect I think I deserve. It's a battle that Joe Flacco cannot win.
It's a losing situation.
Yeah, you just can't do it. There's no upside.
You might notice that Fu Manchu mustache he's got going. We asked him about it, and he said, it is as annoying as can be.
He can't wait to get rid of it. As soon as this season ends, the Fu Manchu is going to meet Mr. Razor.
Flacco over the middle and off the hands of Ed Dixon, his tight end. So that'll bring the punting unit on, and Jacoby Jones gets a chance to return.
And it's just, again, the ball maybe just a hair behind Ed Dixon, but that's a catch that 9 times out of 10 that he will make. But Joe Flacco would have been better served to lead Ed Dixon instead of throwing it a little bit behind.
Sam Cook had a 75-yard punt earlier, the one that Jacoby Jones forked over. Jones drops this one and picks it up and spins forward to about the 22-yard line. Jacoby Jones is hardly having a superb day returning punts.
No, he's putting some excitement into this, and he tries to look that thing in, but again, and he's letting it get into his chest. You see, that one hit him in the face mask. And again, he just misjudged where that ball was coming in. It glances right off of his face mask. And again, he's very fortunate that time the Ravens were about 3 yards away, and he gets it after one hop.
On first down. Play fake to Foster. Yates throwing and intercepted at the 35-yard line by Ladarius Webb.
Well, I think T.J. Yates that time just made up his mind. He was going to throw it to Andre Johnson, whether he was covered or not. Because Andre Johnson was completely blanketed. Webb is anticipating, and you look at it. I mean, Webb is in front of Johnson the whole time. He's just sitting back waiting for that route, and gee whiz, you're not going to get an interception any easier than that. T.J. Yates locked in, never should have released that football.
So the Ravens off the turnover from the 34. Rice for maybe a yard to the 33.
Well, that was the first time that we saw T.J. He did not throw an interception in their playoff win last week. At that time was when he really looked like a rookie quarterback.
Yates, again, inactive the first 10 games of this season. Then came the injuries to Matt Schaub and Matt Leinart. 2nd and 9. Flacco over the middle, incomplete. And playing that one well was Jonathan Joseph against Torrey Smith.
And again, that is what we're going to be seeing all day. Even when Smith goes into the slot, he's going to go against the Pro Bowl corner for the Texans. And that is a change-up, as I mentioned, from the first game. And Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator, he's afraid of Torrey Smith and his game-breaking abilities, and he's going to put his best man on the job.
Wade Phillips given a ton of credit for turning this Houston Texans defense around this season.
Oh, you couldn't possibly give him enough credit for the job he did with his group.
Flacco under pressure, little screen. This is Rice with blocking. 20, 15, down to about the 11 or 12-yard line, and a first down.
Now, nice touch on the ball by Joe Flacco, floating it over the top. There's Ray Rice right in front of Joe Flacco, and he just floats it right over the top, and he's going to follow Ben Grubbs all the way down the field, and Ben is having trouble trying to find somebody to block.
Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator. On first down, this is Rice to 10. And Brian Cushing makes the stop there for Houston.
This defensive team that Wade Phillips inherited, aided greatly by a couple free agent signings, Jonathan Joseph, Daniel Manning, but they were historically bad last year. To think that this was the third best pass defense in the league, yardage-wise. They gave up 33 touchdown passes a year ago. This year they only gave up 18. How's that for a market improvement?
Flacco, end zone. Anquan Bolden for the touchdown.
Well, on this drive, Jason Allen has replaced Kareem Jackson as the corner who's getting most of the coverage on Anquan Bolden. And this time Bolden just goes in, sells a little bit of a slant, and then turns it out, and just man coverage all the way, and Jason Allen can't get there. And a perfect, I mean absolutely perfect throw from Joe Flacco. When you spin a guy all the way around, when you make a guy do a 180 to try to get back into coverage, that's a good route by the receiver.
Pundit's kick is good. 1:08 to play in the first quarter. The Baltimore Ravens with 14 points off 2 Houston turnovers. And it's a 17-3 lead.
Again, Joe Flacco, a good pocket, but a very accurate ball. Just right onto the hands of Anquan Boldin. And no secret, John Harbaugh telling us that Anquan Boldin is going to figure very large into their game plan here today. They think that they can, that he's going to be able to run the kind of routes that are going to find him open. And right now, TJ Yates must really feel like an inexperienced quarterback. Being in this environment, you just threw a pick that led to a touchdown. You're 2 touchdowns behind in a most hostile environment. This stadium is one noisy place.
Gary Kubiak says he ran noise during practice even when the teams were in the huddle.
You can't replicate how noisy this stadium is. This is right up there with Arrowhead, Seattle, as far as the noisiest venues in the NFL.
So Manning again in the end zone. And he'll return this one from 2 yards deep. To the 20, dances to the 25 before he's brought down at about the 26.
Well, we got a minute left in the first quarter. For those of you that missed the very beginning of this, Daniel Manning took the opening kickoff and gave the Texans outstanding field position as he gets all the way down to the 40-yard line. And then Jacoby Jones muffs his punt, gives the Ravens unbelievable position. Joe Flacco throws it to Chris Wilson, and then TJ Yates threw it right to Ladarius Webb, and all of a sudden it's a 14-point deficit.
Here's Arian Foster, and Foster pulls straight ahead across the 30 to about the 32 or 33-yard line. Corey Redding with the stop.
Now, even down 2 touchdowns, the game plan for Houston doesn't change at all right now. It is still establish the run, give it to Foster over and over. Ben Tate is also going to get some carries today for Gary Kubiak's squad. Told us he'd like to get Tate 8 to 10 carries.
1 second and 3. Yates with the ball on the move, gonna go deep down the far sideline. It is almost intercepted by Ed Reed.
Ed landed on the turf, and Ed is a little shaken up. Looked like he landed on his leg and his hip. Again, though, a nice stutter and go by Kevin Walter, but Ed Reed had the deep outside, and he's right where he's supposed to be. And, with his arms up in the air trying to make a play on the ball, and more often than not, Ed Reed makes that interception. But you can see he landed on his hip pretty heavily.
And Reed hasn't quite yet recovered. So Baltimore gets charged with a timeout here and stops the clock with 14 seconds to play in the first half.
There once was a time when players wore hip pads, thigh pads, knee pads, and a lot of these guys today don't wear any padding from the waist down, and that is kind of painful when you land that hard.
Well, the Houston Texans were unanimous in saying the one thing you want to do is be real sure where number 20 is in the secondary.
A good look at how Ed lands right on that left hip.
Going to his 8th Pro Bowl in his 10th season. 3rd and 3.
Houston hasn't converted a 3rd down yet.
Yates over the middle. He's got one now. This is Foster, and Foster across the 45 to the 48-yard line and a first down. And with that, the first quarter will wind down here in Baltimore. That's the end of one. Baltimore 17, Houston 3. We're coming back to M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore right after this. You are watching the NFL on CBS. Back for the start of the second quarter, he saw Arian Foster limping off the field as the first quarter ended. He is back in the backfield, and Ed Reed is also in the secondary. This is Foster straight ahead. Foster with running room, 35, 32-yard line.
Well, this is the play, the conclusion of the first quarter, where Arian Foster, and you saw him limping to the sidelines, but then again, you saw it just took 2 minutes over that break for him to get back out into the huddle. Same with Ed Reed. That's what playoff football is all about. Get some rest in March.
Foster trying to turn the corner. Ducks inside the 30 to about the 28.
Well, this zone blocking scheme for the Houston Texans is where their offensive linemen lock up with the defensive lineman and try to run him as far as they can. That was played pretty effectively on the front side by Corey Redding, the defensive lineman, and then Ladarius Webb came up in good run support. Can't turn your shoulders as a defender against that offense, rather.
Yates into the flat. And Foster not able to get away from number 31, Bernard Pollard.
Well, Bernard Pollard has added so much to this Ravens defense in terms of his tackling ability. Juwan Landry is gone, and Bernard Pollard is a heavy tackler and a sure tackler. And he spends most of the day near the line of scrimmage, leaves the deep middle to Ed Reed.
And another big third down for 24-year-old T.J. Yates. His man inside the 15-yard line, and that's Owen Daniels for a first down.
Well, he gets a good solid pocket to start with, talking about T.J. Yates. Look at this from behind. This is a very veteran, solid offensive line. Nice job picking up the stunt in the middle and then finding that little hole in the zone. Got right in between Ellerby and Pollard, and Owen Daniels, who's playing with a broken hand, makes the catch.
On first down, Foster. Following his fullback, the ex-Baltimore Raven Lawrence Vickers. Chuck Pagano, the defensive coordinator of Baltimore.
Yeah, this is Chuck's first year being the coordinator. Took over for Greg Madison. His brother was just named the defensive coordinator by Norv Turner out with the Chargers. A lot of defense in that family.
2nd and 7. Yates lofting it towards the end zone. It's incomplete. Pass intended for Andre Johnson. He was covered there by Webb. You know, earlier this week, the opinion has been raised here in Baltimore that maybe Ray Lewis and Ed Reed are past their prime. How about Chuck Pagano's reaction when you brought that up to him?
Well, I've heard coaches stick up for their players before, but never quite to the extent Chuck Pagano did. He said, let me just tell you, if I was told that I had to sit down Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, I, along with my entire defensive staff, would quit. Now, that's defending your guys.
We get a timeout with 11:55 to play in the first half. 17-3 Ravens. That beautiful view of the Ravens home stadium and surrounding area provided today by MetLife. 3rd and 7 for Yates and the Texans. On the move. Looking, throws, and he threw it into the dirt in front of Kevin Walton.
By that time, Chuck Pagano and the Ravens elected to throw coverage at TJ Yates. They only brought 3 rushers and dropped 8 back into the coverage, and he's really got not a whole lot going on in terms of open receivers. I mean, when you just can't, there's just nowhere to go, and that's really an intelligent play by the rookie quarterback.
So Neil Rackers, who hit a 40-yarder earlier, will try this one from 28 yards out. And that one is good. And we have a penalty marker.
Yeah, there was a whistle before the play. I think it's going to be a false start on Houston.
Pete Morelli, our
False
referee.
start, number 85, offense, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
So Joel Dreesen guilty of the penalty, and that'll back Rackers up 5 yards.
Well, from a yardage standpoint, you wouldn't think this would make too big of a difference. That's certainly what Joel Dreesen is hoping. There are penalties, and then there are the penalties that take points off the board. They're enough to make you sweat.
So Rackers now from 33. He's got that one. 11:42 to play in the first half. Another field goal for the Texans. They trail 17-6.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. McDonald's, I'm loving it. And by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
11:42 to play. Let's take a look at that third down play.
Well, you know, Ray Lewis can still cover a lot of ground. Here he is right over here. And take a look at this. Look at Ray right there in the middle. He's going to drop all the way back into the end zone. And then he's just going to shadow TJ Yates. And he gets all the way to the sidelines. Maybe not as quickly as once upon a time, but the old man can still cover some ground.
I give up, Dan.
What do they look like? Giant exclamation
points. Exactly. Rackers to kick. Zibikowski is deep. And the wind blew the ball off the tee just as Rackers made his approach. I guarantee you the wind is nothing like it was when we arrived here in town a couple of days ago.
No, it's probably 15 miles an hour less than it was, but you look at the flags, they're pretty starched right now. And I'd say that's a pretty solid 15 mile an hour wind right now, but you're right, it would have been very interesting. It's swirling inside the stadium as it normally does, but up top, the wind is kind of blowing in the favor of the Ravens when they go on offense. It's blowing pretty much left to right as we're looking at the field from the booth.
Zibikowski will take a knee in the end zone, and the Ravens will take this one from the 20-yard line. Tonight is Groupon the biggest bargain in the country? 150 million Americans think so. Plus, 60 Minutes has seen a lot of child prodigies, but none quite like this. Tonight on 60 Minutes. Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, the rest of our CBS Sports crew here in Baltimore. And, you know, this game is full of what-ifs, but this would not be the lead for Baltimore that it is had it not been for the turnovers by the Texans.
No, 2 mistakes. One by Jacoby Jones, one by TJ Yates, the rookie quarterback.
Flacco under pressure and throws it incomplete. Connor Barwin, an interesting individual in his own right.
Well, they're trying to set up a middle screen, but Connor Barwin just gets a free run at Joe Flacco, and that it requires a little more timing in setting up a screen. You got to chill the guy. You got to hit him. You got to stop him, and then let him rush the quarterback. But when you get a guy a free run, it doesn't work.
I'd say Connor Barwin is a pretty chill guy.
Yeah, he's got an interesting growth on top of his head.
Interesting personality.
He's got some hair that defies description.
On 2nd and 10, Ray Rice with a hole up the middle. Across the 25 to the 27-yard line. Connor Barwin presents a picture that's truly interesting.
We mentioned that's old Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld, and when we told Connor Barwin that we were thinking about doing this, he was pretty happy.
Awesome. Awesome.
He's quite a character. But he's going to enjoy himself today if the Ravens leave him unblocked. They did it a couple times in a meeting back in October.
On 3rd and 2, Flacco to throw for it. And overthrows his intended receiver. He was under pressure with the pocket. Dennis Pitta was the intended receiver, and the Ravens will kick. So it looks like Wade Phillips is beginning to bring a little pressure on Flacco.
Well, out of the I formation, which is a run formation, that time Ray Rice, it wasn't spectacular, but it was enough to block Brooks Reed long enough to give Joe a chance to throw the football.
And here's the adventurous Jacoby Jones deep. Jones at the 20. Handles this one cleanly. Doesn't get any blocking, and we have a penalty marker down. Brendan Ayanbadejo with the stop, and let's check the flag now.
I know he was out of bounds, but when Jones hit the ground at the end of this, the ball came out.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 22, the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down, and timeout.
That penalty is on number 22, Sherrick McManus, and it will back the Texans up even more with 10:37 to play here in the first half. So now, TJ Yates, Arian Foster, and company will try to put together another drive, and the last one was pretty decent, Dan.
Yes, it was very good, and it was based primarily on solid running by Arian Foster and good blocking up front. Again, that's what the Texans are. They can't get away from it.
Foster turning the corner. 25 up the sideline and pulled down across the 40-yard line by Ed Reed.
Well, there's a situation where we talked about setting an edge, and that did not happen right here. Joel Dreesen, the tight end, gets an outstanding block. Wade Smith coming around the corner. And there was no edge set whatsoever that time by the Baltimore defense. And even though the hand is up there and it looks like it might be a horse collar, he didn't drag Foster down.
And apparently, their challenge flag thrown by John Harbaugh. Let's see. Here's Pete Morelli coming over to the near sideline.
Did he step out of bounds, I think, is what John Harbaugh is going to question the spot.
Baltimore is challenging that the runner stepped out of bounds.
So Pete Morelli will go under the hood for the first time today, and he will take a look at shots like this one and make his determination. From what we see there, Arian Foster is all green up the sideline.
Welcome back to Baltimore, everyone. I think Pete Morelli is going to have to see something conclusive saying that Arian Foster stepped out of bounds, and I don't think he's going to see it. We've been going over this replay, and it appears that Arian Foster did a pretty darn good job of tight-roping that sideline.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. Baltimore will be charged a timeout and a challenge.
Well, John Harbaugh had a pretty good record during the regular season. He was 8 out of 12 on his challenges. But that was a pretty nifty piece of running by Arian Foster.
28-yard pickup, and now Baltimore down to one timeout remaining in this first half. Yates with time near sideline, and that is complete. And the catch is made at about the 46-yard line of the Ravens by Andre Johnson.
And Greg, he did it on a pattern that the Ravens didn't think that T.J. Yates was really particularly good at doing, a deep out. The Ravens were actually talking about most of his throws being between the numbers. Yates showed some arm strength there.
Now on first down, back to the ground game. And Foster trying to turn the corner. And is out of bounds just inside the 45.
Well, you mentioned earlier about in the first meeting back in the middle of October that Arian Foster was held to 49 yards by this Ravens defense. And he's already got 70 yards on the day, and as you see, with 9.5 minutes left in the second quarter.
Ben Tate now in the backfield for the Houston Texans. And the quick pass, and that is broken up on the far side by Ladarius Webb, intended for James Casey. Well, the leaders today, T.J. Yates.
Well, that percentage for Joe Flacco is not what he's looking for. That's for sure. And that rushing total for Ray Rice, not quite 4 yards per carry. They'd like to see that improve.
3rd and 9 now for Yates and the Texans. That pass is complete. Inside the 35 to the 32 is Andre Johnson. And that's the Houston first down.
Well, after the reception, nice work by Andre Johnson, making Bernard Pollard miss. Pollard is just sitting there waiting for Johnson, and he's got him in his sights the whole way. And then he just comes up, basically gets nothing but air. Nice tackle by Jimmy Smith at the end. A lot of move, a lot of shaking. Jimmy Smith wasn't having much to do with it. Good tackle.
On first down, this is Foster. Foster left side, inside the 20 to about the 17. Arian Foster said, not only do we have to work on our running game, but we have to trust it.
Well, the Texans have been running on everybody this year. They're the second-ranked rushing team in the NFL. Take a look at that blocking. Chris Myers, Wade Smith, Dwayne Brown with the block to the outside. Now what's critical for the Texans now, you can't settle for field goals. You've already got a pair. You need to finish a drive with a touchdown.
First down at the 18. Foster again to the 12. And Ray Lewis with the tackle. There is a meeting between two guys who have become very close friends, Arian Foster and Ray Lewis.
Well, in that time, there was a lack of backside pursuit by the defensive line of the Ravens. When Arian Foster made that one-step cut back up into the middle, there was nobody to close that gap on the backside.
Tate replaces Foster on 2nd and 4, and we have penalty mark. And a false start.
False start, number 62 offense, 5-yard penalty remains, first down. Correction, second down.
That's Antoine Caldwell.
Well, that interrupted a pretty darn good series that the Texans had going for them. Now we'll see into a 2nd and long situation, but they have a pretty good rhythm going right now.
Yates on the move, looking, throwing to the end zone, and is incomplete. Close to being kicked off by Ed Reed down there, I think.
Boy, and T.J. Yates got whacked at the end of this little scamper of his. He is being chased by Haloti Ngata.
Never a good thing.
Well, what's hard to believe is that a guy the size of Haloti Ngata
is able to get out there and pressure and run down T.J. Yates. That is an amazing piece of athleticism by Nod.
3rd and 9. Foster back in. Drop the football. And the little flip. Oh, what a grab by Foster. And Foster to the 5. What a grab by Arian Foster, that flip.
Well, that was remarkable. A one-handed stab by Arian Foster, because under duress, TJ just has to let this go. And his left hand never touches the football. And he gets a good block out front by Caldwell. Owen Daniels, the tight end. And that was a surprise conversion by the Texans.
1st and goal. Foster to the 1.
Boy, that last play, not that one, but one before, it started with a bad snap and then a bad, really not a very good throw.
Everything was going wrong with it.
It looked like everything was in place for the Ravens to come up big on that play, and that was a bit of a shock to them.
Houston with 7 first downs this quarter to none for the Ravens. 2nd and goal. Foster, right side to the goal line.
He's not in.
It'll be 3rd and goal.
Well, a field goal in this situation coming up for the Texans is unacceptable, so I would suspect there's some real urgency in this huddle now as they face this 3rd down play. What a big hit. Look at McClain come in there with that stick. That's the way you stand a guy up on the goal line.
12th play of this 85-yard drive. And a whistle. And we get a timeout.
Timeout. Houston, 2nd.
So Houston uses a timeout with 4:52 to play here in the first half. Knocking on the door.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the Miller Lite Aluminum Pint. 4 more ounces of that great Pilsner taste. And by Office Max. This week only, check out the biggest deals of the year on ink and paper.
More than 71,500 fans here, the largest Ravens crowd of all time. 3rd and goal. Foster. Touchdown.
Well, that was nothing short of a tremendous drive by the Houston Texans. 86 yards, and they finally get in the end zone and stop settling for field goals against the best red zone defense in the National Football League.
And 57 of those yards contributed by number 23.
Heck of a job down, baby. Heck of a job. Keep it up, brother.
Rackers for the extra point. It is good. Baltimore's defense allowed 21 offensive touchdowns all season long. That was the best in the NFL.
Well, this time Arian Foster is going to go to the right behind Vickers, and a nice block on the edge by Joel Dreesen, number 85. Boy, does he get a nice seal. He pins Bernard Pollard to the inside, and then coming around the corner, Vickers gets in on McClain. Well done here by the guys from Texas. And Arian Foster, remember, he went hobbling off the field before that one timeout, and we were wondering if he was hurt. Remember, he had hamstring problems earlier in the year. Since then, he's been running like wild.
I think he's okay.
Yeah. Well, Arian Foster has had an awfully good first half to this point. He's been involved in the passing game, and we know he's got receiving skills. That's just great blocking right there. That was unchallenged until he got to the second level. Here he shows the speed to get around the corner, and to stay in bounds was nicely done. And again, a well-blocked play by the Texans, and Arian Foster is having himself a great half, 95 yards rushing already.
Ravens are not used to giving up 100-yard rushing games in the postseason.
124 total yards from scrimmage for Arian Foster. Of course, the guy on the other sideline is the scrimmage yard leader, the guy who led the NFL this season, Ray Rice.
And there's John Harbaugh's guys, and even before John Harbaugh, they just don't allow 100-yard rushers in the postseason.
Gary Kubiak said it. He said, you know, what the Ravens are doing defensively and what they have been doing for the last decade is one of the great defensive runs in the history of professional football. And he's right.
Zagorowski will not run this one out of the end zone, and so Flacco and the Ravens will start from their own 20-yard line, leading now by just 4 at 17-13.
Well, Joe Flacco's completion percentage is not good. 4 out of 12. He's had a couple drops. But of those 4 completions, 2 of them are touchdowns. So it's a completion percentage is not all it's cracked up to be.
Ricky Williams in the backfield to the start of this series. He gets the handoff. And Ricky for about 4 to the 24. Brooks Reed, the rookie out of Arizona, making the stop. And Ricky Williams went over the 10,000 career rushing mark this season.
I think to give this Ravens defense a rest, even if this drive doesn't result in points, a couple first downs would be greatly appreciated. Look at the Fu Manchus sprouting up everywhere, even if they're made out of paper.
Houston has dominated this second quarter. Ricky Williams again. To the 28. Sean Cody and Reed again in on the stop. As we hit the 4-minute mark to play here in the first half.
When Wade Phillips came in here with the Texans, he installed the 3-4 defense. They were primarily a 4-man front before, and the turnaround is just, you know, everyone knows about it, but it is just hard to believe, because when you did a Texans game last year, their defensive play, shoddy was the only word that came to mind. At least one of them.
This is Williams again, and he's got a first down across the 30 and out to the 34. And there's a little bit of that breather you were talking about for the Baltimore defense.
Well, Vontae Leach right here, number 44, he provides, he is a Pro Bowl fullback. He is the best blocking fullback in football. He went to the Pro Bowl last year as a member of the Houston Texans, and as a free agent now came to Baltimore, and he was elected to the Pro Bowl again. Unhappy with his departure from Houston. He thought that he was, actually he said, I was insulted by their offer.
This is Rice. And the Ravens have found a little bit of momentum now in their ground game.
Well, as we come up on 2.5 minutes left in the first half here, keep in mind that the Ravens have already burned a pair of their timeouts, so they've only got one remaining. Again, Vontae Leach gets into that hole.
Lost one of those timeouts to a challenge that didn't work. Each team with one timeout remaining. 2nd and 5. Flacco gonna loft it from Bolden. Oh, what a catch! What a catch inside the 35-yard line.
Kareem Jackson has to be just in shock that this ended up being a completed pass. Watch this coverage. Look at Bolden get physical to get off the ball, but look at that coverage. Oh, that's fantastic work by Anquan Bolden.
2 minutes to play in the first half in Baltimore. 2 minutes to play here in Baltimore. Each team with one timeout remaining. The Ravens with a 4-point lead and the ball at the Houston 33. Flacco under pressure, escaped. Rice covered at about the line of scrimmage by DeMeco Ryan.
Well, A good job of getting away from that pressure by Flacco and getting rid of the football. That was, give credit to the guys in the white jerseys. That was beautifully executed. Pressure the quarterback, cover the running back.
59, 29.
Flacco going to go deep down the far sideline, popped into the air, incomplete, intended for Bolden. And Kareem Jackson was within stride for stride that time.
Well, we've seen these two before. Jackson had the coverage when Bolden made that fantastic catch on the other sideline. And again, Kareem Jackson is just right on the hip of Anquan Bolden. That would have been a miracle completion.
Good job by Jackson of looking for the football, finding it, and knocking it away.
29,
3rd and 10.
29.
Flacco under pressure and goes down at the 41.
Yeah, they came with the corner blitz. Bryce McCain comes in.
And J.J. Watt was there.
He's going to come in from the right. You see him on the screen, and he's unaccounted for. And Joe Flacco, to try and get away from him, steps up into the pocket, and that's where J.J. Watt is waiting for him. But McCain on the corner blitz, Wade Phillips dialed it up, and it got there. Boy, it looked like Baltimore had something going for a while.
So now Sam Cook will try to pin the Texans deep in this final minute of the first half. Kobe Jones going to let it bounce. And it's saved at the goal line. Danny Gorer batted the ball back, and it's down at the 1. That is a terrific special teams play. His foot on the goal line?
He stepped on the goal line. He stepped on the goal line before he launched himself, but the ball, he didn't touch. That should be a touchback.
Yes, it should.
He started in the end zone with his foot on the line. And I think it's because it's inside 2 minutes.
There's his foot on the line.
I don't think there's any question that his foot's on the line. And Pete Morelli is going to go under the hood and look at this. It sure looked like that should be a touchback.
And if you're Gary Kubiak, you sure don't want to spend this last half minute with your back to the goalpost.
Again, let's take one more look at it. Yeah, I think that's pretty open and shut that he stepped on the goal line prior to going up. Give Gore credit for attempting to make a real heady play, but about 1 inch onto that white stripe.
28 seconds to play here in the first half. Remember, the Ravens 14 points off of 2 Texans turnovers. And here comes Pete Morelli.
After reviewing the play, I remember the kicking team was touching the end zone and then touched the football. By rule, that is a touchback. The ball will be placed on the 20-yard line, first down.
We'll remind you, coming up on the Spread Halftime Report, JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Cowher will be joined by Ndamukong Suh of the Detroit Lions for a look at the first half of this game, this AFC Divisional Playoff game, and all the latest playoff news. That's all coming up on the Sprint Halftime Report. And it's going to come up a lot sooner than we thought because TJ Yates takes a knee, and that will do it for a first half in which Baltimore took an early lead and the Texans, undaunted, came charging back.
Well, a couple of early possessions, they were forced to settle for field goals, but then that fantastic 86-yard drive that they finished off with a touchdown run by Arian Foster. That was a really, really solid piece of work.
That is the end of the first half. There's the score. The Ravens 17, Houston 13. Back with the Spread Halftime Report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. We are at halftime here in Baltimore, and there is the score. The Baltimore Ravens with a 17-13 lead after the Ravens fell behind 3-0. They scored 17 straight, but a strong second quarter for the Houston Texans has them within 4. 17-13. Baltimore back after these messages and a word from your local station. Oh, what a grab by Foster. Foster, touchdown. Flacco, end zone. Anquan Bolden for the touchdown. As we get set for the second half here in Baltimore, there's our halftime score. The Ravens leading Houston by a score of 17-13. Yesterday at the Baltimore Ravens practice facility, the NFL held the finals of its punt, pass, and kick competition. Now in its 50th year, the punt, pass, and kick program is a national skills competition for boys and girls between the ages of 6 and 15 to compete separately against their peers. With former Baltimore Ravens kicker Matt Stover on hand, girls and boys in 5 separate age divisions competed against each other in punting, passing, and place kicking. The program is the longest-running grassroots individual youth sports competition in America.
Keep your eyes on me. I'm going to take a bunch of pictures. Just keep on smiling, okay?
And welcome back to Baltimore, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Dan Deerdorf. This game started out, it appeared to be in a runaway position for the Baltimore Ravens, but Houston rallied well in the second quarter.
Baltimore, Boomer was right, a lot of pressure on their offense here in the second half. They've got 118 total yards in the first half. Ray Rice, you better start calling his number or Baltimore might be in trouble.
Yeah, let's take a moment now and check out the Droid Razor Max Play presented by Motorola.
Well, again, it's after a turnover. Anquan Bolden running the good out pattern and a perfect strike from Joe Flacco. And again, 2 mistakes by Houston turned the ball over deep in their own territory. Baltimore capitalized, and the wind, as you can see, as the day is going on here, is picking up.
The wind is picked up, and Baltimore will get their hands on the football first here in the second half.
Well, they have got to get Ray Rice moving in this offense.
Zimikowski deep and will not return this, so Joe Flacco and the Ravens will start from their own 20-yard line. We were looking at the numbers of the first half, Dan, and T.J. Yates has outpassed Flacco in the first half, and as we mentioned, Arian Foster has outrun Ray Rice.
But Joe Flacco has 2 touchdowns, and Yates has that one horrible interception. His really only major mistake. Yeah, take a look at that. But then when you get to the bottom line there, the one interception resulted in multiple points, and Flacco with a pair of TDs.
And the punt by Jacoby Jones certainly didn't help the Houston Texans either.
Well, no, that's how they got it started. But there is the key to this offense of the Baltimore Ravens. He's got 9 carries, only 32 yards, so less than 4 yards a carry. And I think everyone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan realizes that when Ray doesn't get his touches, when he's not in the 20s, the Ravens lose.
J.J. Watt grabbing hold of Rice as he goes through the right side. As Dan mentioned in the first half, Ray Rice and Ray Lewis paid us a visit together, and they have formed an uncommon friendship.
What Ray Rice needs right now is his offensive line to give him some room. Because on those 2 carries, there's virtually no place to go.
3rd and 6. Flacco with all kinds of time and running out of time now. Shakes 1 tackler, shakes a 2nd, but not a 3rd. Brooks Reed.
Well, normally in the NFL, when a quarterback gets that long in the pocket, somebody comes open and it's almost a guaranteed completion. What a pocket Joe Flacco has, and he can't find anybody. Connor Barwin, he's in there. Just what a What a wasted opportunity that you couldn't find an open receiver, and one of his receivers couldn't get open.
Jacoby Jones deep for the upcoming kick from Sam Cook. Great kick from Cook. Jones from his own 25. Back down to his own 20-yard line. And a terrific special teams play by Haruki Nakamura.
Well, I think Jacoby Jones wishes this was Groundhog Day and he could start this thing over, because it hasn't been going according to plan.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
71,547 fans here in Baltimore, the most ever to watch a Ravens football game. And this is Foster. Arian Foster, during that timeout, revving up his teammates, and there's no question Arian Foster was the spark plug that got the Houston Texans back into this game in the second quarter.
Well, to have success, you have to believe, and right now, this Texans offense, they believe. Foster over 100 yards. First time against this Ravens defense ever in the playoffs. This is some matchup now.
On 2nd and 3, Foster. And Foster stuffed at the 28-yard line, 2 yards shy of a first down.
I mean, this is really what we wanted to see matchup-wise, is this running game of the Houston Texans against this tremendous defense of the Ravens. And that time, look how they cut off the backside. That's the kind of backside cutoffs, that time executed by Nada, that Chuck Pagano has been looking for all day.
3rd and 2. Yates throwing, and he threw it away because Casey was covered.
Well, give the Ravens a lot of credit, because after giving that some good yardage on that first down run to Arian Foster, on 2nd and 3rd down, zip.
That's Ladarius Webb back at his own 25-yard line. Matt Turner. Fair catch called for and made at the 30-yard line by Webb. So now the Baltimore offense, and Ray Rice looking to get things going. 34 yards on the day so far on the ground.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. IBM. Let's build a smarter planet. Visit ibm.com/smarterplanet. And by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side.
Interest you in some crab cakes, Dan Deerdorf?
Always.
I bet.
Always. And what better place to find some?
Beautiful city of Baltimore, Maryland. The Ravens on top 17-13. The winner here advances to Foxborough next Sunday to meet the New England Patriots for the AFC Championship and a trip to the Super Bowl.
Well, the Ravens need some production from this offense. You can see since that first quarter, a measly 45 yards.
On first down, Ray Rice. Nowhere. Brian Cushing in on that stop along with J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt, he was the 11th pick in the draft this year. And what a player the Texans have found on the defensive line. And again, look how he stays square. Look at his hands, how he uses his hands to push off Michael Orr. But he's, totally under control. And like any great defensive lineman, using your hands and your arms to keep the blocker away from your body, where you're always in a position to make the play.
Flacco goes down. J.J. Watt once again.
Let's take a look at Watt, and again, this time he's falling inside, and he just whiffs Marshall Yanda. Yanda just, look at that. What a great setup to the outside, and then he comes back with the inside move, and Yanda just basically got nothing but air.
Marshall Yanda, a Pro Bowl guard.
Well, you don't see that very often. Yanda's a great player. I mean, he is a good football player. That move by Watt was superlative.
4th sack of Flacco today. Setting up the screen. This is Ricky Williams. Or Dixon, excuse me. And Dixon across the 35 to the 36-yard line.
Well, that's a smart call by Cam Cameron. Trying to take advantage of a defensive line that was really feeling it, and they blew upfield, and you picked up some decent yardage. Granted, you got a punt, but it had a chance. And look at Brian Cushing come in and finish off Ed Dixon. Now that is how you deliver a shot.
Jacoby Jones deep. From the 16 and down at about the 22-yard line. Emmanuel Cook with the special teams tackle. Timeout in Baltimore. 17-13 Raiders. Those aren't bad numbers for an undrafted player, Arian Foster. And looking to add to those numbers right now. Foster left side. And hit by Ray Lewis.
Well, Ray Lewis read that perfectly. And Arian Foster, when he gets to the hole, there's nothing there. Look at Lewis fight off the block of Vickers. That's textbook linebacking. Fight through the lead block and then bury the ball carrier.
Second and 8, Yates spinning out of trouble, looking downfield, and hits his man at the 40-yard line, Andre Johnson.
Well, how good is that by T.J. Yates getting away from Haloti Ngata? A little athleticism here. Here comes Ngata, number 92, and anticipating it, he does the spin, and a nice job by Andre Johnson of sitting down and making himself visible. That is a big-time play by the rookie quarterback.
First down, Houston at their own 41. Foster again. I mentioned earlier that relationship between Arian Foster and Ray Lewis, and Arian Foster said that Ray Lewis picked him off the ground at one point and said, "Young man, I like the way you play the game."
Ray Lewis is so good at that with younger players. Great balance so far by the Houston Texans. Gary Kubiak calling the game. They have 20 runs and 20 passes.
Yates over the middle, got his man inside the 40. Kevin Walter holds on for the first down at the 36.
Somebody needs to tell T.J. Yates that he's a rookie and he's not supposed to be able to do this against this defense. Against the zone, Walter finds himself a hole right there. And a nice job looking to his left. Yates coming back to the middle. T.J. Yates is starting to feel it a little bit.
Back to the ground game. Foster ducks inside the 35 to the 34-yard line. T.J. Yates, and the Houston Texans told us when 5th round came around and he was available, they jumped at the opportunity to grab him.
They got a good look at him at the combine where he was invited, but he was invited as one of the arms where he had to do a lot of extra throwing and kind of service work. But John Harbaugh right now, I don't think he cares much for T.J. Yates.
Second and 8. Foster to the 32.
But everything changes from a play caller's perspective when you can run the football. And right now the Houston Texans, as they have done on just about everybody all season long, running the ball very effectively. And of course Gary Kubiak, the former quarterback with the Denver Broncos, backing up John Elway all those years, still calls the plays.
Yates looking at a 3rd and 6.
Here comes Baltimore.
Over the middle, tipped incomplete. Off the hands of Andre Johnson.
And that's something that Chuck Pagano isn't afraid to do. It's one of the things the players really like about Pagano is that he'll bring pressure. He only brings 5. He just brings 1 extra guy, but you can see Ed Reed coming right up the middle, forces that bad throw. Nice change-up blitz with a safety right up the gut.
Rackers is going to attempt what appears to be a 50-yard field goal.
Well, he does have the wind at his back.
He has a 54 this year. This one's on the way. It is.
Oh, it hit the crossbar. It looked like it had enough juice, and then it just kind of died and hit the crossbar.
Rackers comes up just short. And Ray Lewis on the sideline says, we still lead by 4.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Sprint. All football, no limits, only from Sprint. And by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram.
5:54 to play in the 3rd quarter. Terrific field position now for Joe Flacco and the Ravens offense. Ricky Williams in the backfield from their own 40-yard line, and Flacco to throw. Steps away from trouble and throws and completes it inside the 45-yard line to Dennis Pitta for a 1st down. Hey, a reminder, subscribe to NFL Magazine, the new official monthly magazine of the National Football League. Available at NFL.com/magazine and newsstands everywhere.
Well, that was a nifty piece of work by Joe Flacco. Getting out of the pocket, Sean Cody just blew right up the middle, and a nice little sidestep by Flacco, and then a good pass.
Now from the Houston 44. Flacco had it batted down.
I think Brian Cushing got a hand on that.
Boy, these Houston Texans defenders have fun batting passes down.
Well, it used to be they weren't allowed to bat the passes down during practice, and I think that's because Gary Kubiak, as a former quarterback, wanted to get his work on the passing game. Well, when Wade Phillips came in, he said, hey, I'll have none of that. These guys need to learn to bat down passes every opportunity they get, and that's the way it goes in a Texans practice now.
This is Williams. Inside the 40 to the 38.
Well, in the first game against Houston back in October, Ray Rice had 23 carries and 101 yards, and today he's got 11 carries and 33 yards. This has been a Baltimore offense that just has not been in sync all day. They've scored some points, but they've done it on really short fields.
And Foster has flipped it around from 49 yards in week 6 to 113 today. Rice is back in now on 3rd and 5.
I think Houston was offside.
That pass down the sideline is caught by Lee Evans.
Well, how long has Baltimore been waiting for Lee Evans to make a big play? There's a flag on the field, but I think Houston was offsides.
Offside. Number 38. No defense. Penalty is declined. Result of the play is a 1st down.
Well, that was some catch by Lee Evans, and even looking like he was being interfered with at the time. But you can see Danielle Manning was in the neutral zone at the snap of the ball.
What a catch by Lee Evans.
Yeah, one-handed. And he's just got Kareem Jackson draped all over him as he does it. We have seen a couple really good one-handed catches today.
1st and goal now from the 9 for the Ravens. This is Rice to the 4, maybe the 3.
Again, the real negative of attempting a long field goal is if you miss it, you give the other team really good field position, and the Ravens got an opportunity to start at their own 40 after that 50-yard miss by Rackers, and they are taking advantage of it.
The ball is at the Houston 4. Rice and Leach in the backfield. Lost the football. Ben Grubbs, number 66, covered it for Baltimore.
All right, Flacco puts it right into the midsection of Ray Rice, and Ray Rice actually, the ball comes off his foot and kicks forward to Grubbs.
2-yard gain.
Yeah.
So it's at the 2-yard line. 3rd and goal.
Again, the Ravens really fortunate.
Rice diving for the end zone. No, short of the goal line.
You can see the official. At first blush, it looked like he got in the end zone. I think Ray Rice is going, what? Well, we're going to get a good look at it here. Yes, and that's a good spot. All right, here's the handoff. Now the thing about it is, yes, he's touched right there. Okay, he wasn't down by contact, but when he was down, he was touched by one of the Texans, so he can't bounce his way into the end zone.
And with a 4th and goal from the half-yard line, there's a timeout on the field. Let's take another look.
See, take a look at it right there. He's following Leach, who gets stood up pretty good by D'Amico Ryan. But as he goes down right there, Brian Cushing makes contact with him. You know, he hits the ground and then it kind of bounces right into the end zone. But I believe when he's on the ground before that second bounce into the end zone is where Cushing makes contact with him right there. And I think that's a very good spot by the officials. Now you kick a field goal here. You got a 1-touchdown lead.
Well, Joe Flacco is coming back onto the field, so no field goal here.
Well, and I think that this is John Harbaugh making a statement about what he thinks about his defense, and I think maybe he's telling his offense it's time to get it done.
They don't go for it often on 4th down. They're 4 out of 7 this year. Rice and Leach. This is Rice.
He didn't
get there. What a stand by the Houston Texans.
What a stand by the Texans is absolutely right.
Ray Rice straight ahead and hit hard.
Tim Dobbins, number 52. Great play.
A minute 53 to play in the 3rd quarter. Houston operating from their own half-yard line. And Yates is going to throw out of his own end zone, deep down the far sideline. Incomplete. Intended for Andre Johnson. Let's go back to that goal line stand.
Well, it's a combination. Down low is number 58, Brooks Reed, right there. And then coming in high, number 52, Tim Dobbins. And I have absolutely no problem whatsoever, John Harbaugh, going for it on 4th and a half a yard. If you can't make a half a yard, you can make an argument that if that's what ends up losing you the game, you didn't deserve to win.
This is Foster. And Foster fights his way out to about the 3.
I'll tell you a little something about what it tells you about how the Houston Texans think about TJ Yates, that they let him air it out like that on 1st down from his own end zone. I don't think a lot of rookie quarterbacks get that kind of vote of confidence.
This also enters into Harbaugh's thinking. You've got a defense like the Baltimore Ravens, and you stand to get some decent field position out of this.
Well, you know, 18 inches is 18 inches. You got to be able to pick it up.
Foster.
Well, now there's the Baltimore defense that everybody in this stadium is used to seeing.
Terrell Suggs led that charge.
Well, Terrell Suggs probably having the best season he's had, and he's had a lot of good ones, but boy, did he fight off Joel Dreesen. Stood him straight up, again with the hands, kept him away from his body, and then just shed him and made the tackle.
And now Matt Turk with the most important kick out of his end zone. Well, at midfield makes the fair catch. More good field position for the Baltimore Ravens. Tomorrow on CBS, your favorite comedies are all new. From People's Choice Award winners How I Met Your Mother and Two Broke Girls to 2.5 Men and Mike and Molly. All new tomorrow, only CBS. 25 seconds to play in the third quarter.
Well, Ray Rice is in the huddle. Again, I think this crowd is just anxious to see him get involved. 15 carries, 39 total rushing yards.
This is Rice. 5 tough yards to the 45. And that figures to be the last play of the third quarter.
Boy, now that's how you finish a run as a running back. He's not tall, but he is mighty. That was a good finish.
And with that, we will come to the end of the third quarter with the score 17-13 in favor of Baltimore. 15 minutes to Foxborough. Who gets to go next week? We'll come back to Baltimore after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we direct your attention to the field, where we would like to recognize the 10 national champions of the 2011-2012 NFL Punt, Pass, and Kick program. Ray Anderson, the NFL's Executive Vice President of Football Operations, will congratulate the Punt, Pass, and Kick national champions. The 6 to 7-year-old champions are Riley Hamilton from Little Elm, Texas, and Luke Adams from Hinsdale, Illinois. The 8 to 9-year-old champions are Aaron Pewitt from Columbia, Missouri, and Jason Alani from Captain Cook, Hawaii. In the 10 to 11 age group, Ava Shumeli from Boca Raton, Florida, and Jaden Hollins Reno from Richmond Hill, Georgia. The 12 to 13-year-old champions are Kayla Klein from Mifflinburg, Pennsylvania, and Pete Durkee from Ackworth, Georgia. And finally, the 14 to 15-year-old champions, Sidney Palmer from Pierre, South Dakota, and Brady Hale from Yankton, South Dakota. The National Football League would like to recognize and thank all of the participants and volunteers who made NFL Punt, Pass, and Kick a successful program in 2011 during its 50th year. Learn how you can participate in NFL Punt, Pass, and Kick and other NFL Play 60 youth programs at NFLrush.com. Let's give our national champions another round of applause. You ever be a part of the Punt, Pass, and Kick?
No, but I would. I so admire those kids for having the courage to go out there and do that. It's a wonderful program. Been going on so long. How about the total domination there in the older age bracket by the state of South Dakota?
They play a little football in South Dakota.
Wow. Hey, kudos to everybody out there. That's kind of nice.
Ready for the start of the fourth quarter. Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, along with our producer, Mark Wolf, our director, Bob Fishman, and our terrific CBS Sports crew here in Baltimore. 17-13 Ravens.
The Ravens still with only 183 yards of total offense.
Flacco going to throw it under pressure. Screen. Rice hit hard. Back at the 50-yard line by DeMeco Ryans.
Boy, this Texans defense, they are playing at a high level. Their motors are running, and they read that screen all the way. And D'Amico Ryans, who has been playing strong inside linebacker for this team for a long time. Ray Rice doesn't even have a chance to turn upfield. I mean, that is, you practice that on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and you hope that's the way it looks in a game. Well, that's how it looked in practice.
3rd and 10. Flacco under pressure, got rid of it. This is Rice, and Rice wrestled down at the 45-yard line. So a fine defensive stand by the Texans.
Well, that is outstanding field position that was just squandered by the inability of the Ravens offense to pick up a first down.
6th 3 and out today for the Baltimore offense.
Credit the guys from Houston. They are getting it done on defense.
Sam Cook kicking it away to Jacoby Jones. Jones. This one will bounce into the end zone for the touchback. Gary Kubiak's Houston Texans start from their own 20 after this.
More people watch the NFL on CBS than on any other network.
You couldn't ask for a nicer picture. Aerial coverage of today's game provided by MetLife. 13 and a half minutes to play here in the 4th quarter. Number 23, Arian Foster in the backfield for Houston, and gets the handoff. And running room across the 25 to the 26-yard line. Ray Lewis with the tackle.
Boy, this Houston offensive line, they do a good job of sustaining their blocks. And right there you see he got to the second level, but Mike Brazel, a nifty little move by Ray Lewis, he made him miss. He got up on Lewis, and then Lewis just a little bit of nifty footwork made him miss and got the tackle.
Foster, change of direction, cuts it back, out across the 30 to the 34, and a first down.
Well, right tackle Eric Winston uses a term that when the cutback goes all the way back, it's going out the back gate. Well, that's what Arian Foster does right there. He went out the back gate. That play designed to go left, and then he comes all the way back. 25 carries, 129 yards for Foster.
First down at the 33. Foster once again. No running room this time. He might have gained a yard.
Foster led the NFL in rushing last year. 1,224 yards in the regular season and only 13 games this year. Remember, he had hamstring problems early in the season.
Very slow start this year.
Yeah. Well, a lot of production, though, for an undrafted free agent.
He had 153 yards and 2 touchdowns last week against Cincinnati. Yates. Little flip, incomplete, short of Ben Tate.
He'd like to have that one back. Talking about T.J. Yates, he short-armed that. He had Tate just standing out in the flat, and then he just tries to feather this out there, and he just took way too much off of that and short-armed it where Tate had nothing.
You know,
he had no chance.
TJ did say it was going to be a little weird lining up and looking across the line at people like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. 3rd and 8.
Well, he grew up a football fan. How can you not respect what they've done?
Yates throwing far side of the field, and that's complete, but short of a first down to Kevin Walters. Bernard Pollard made the hit.
Well, he's the heavy hitter in the Ravens secondary, and that was executed perfectly by Bernard Pollard. That's how you finish off a tackle, right through the guy.
Webb backing up to his own 15 for the kick upcoming from Matt Turk. Off the side of his foot.
Oh, he just plain shanked that one.
And that one rolls out of bounds at about the 26-yard line. 11:07 to play in the fourth.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go. The Ford F-150, available with the efficiency and power of EcoBoost. And by AT&T, get it faster with 4G. Rethink possible.
A look at Baltimore's gorgeous Inner Harbor on a cold day in January. First down, Ricky Williams in the backfield.
Torrey Smith to this point has been shut out by Jonathan Wilson.
This is Williams left side for a couple. In fact, Torrey Smith is not the only big play guy that Baltimore hasn't heard from today.
No, the tight ends only have one reception each, but Wade Phillips decided to make this adjustment that he was going to put his Pro Bowl corner on the fastest of the Baltimore receivers. That's Ed Dixon, who has one reception. Remember, that was on a screen pass, and Dennis Pitta has only one reception, and they are Joe Flacco's go-to guys.
The big play people who have really not made an impact here today. Flacco pulls it down, now throws, and it's incomplete at the 40-yard line. Baltimore fans want a flag. There is none. Intended for Dixon. Daniel Manning covering.
Just a simple little crossing pattern here by Dixon, and yeah, you can see where Manning got there. He got there that split second early. Such a difficult call for an official when it's bang bang like that.
3rd and 7. TJ Yates waits his turn.
Ravens are 4-13 on 3rd down.
Flacco under pressure and goes down. Brooks Reed, and that number 99 again, J.J. Watt. He is going to be a terror in this league for years.
And that is the fifth time that Joe Flacco has been sacked. All right, he wants to set and throw. You could see where he wanted to step into it and get rid of the football. But the pocket just completely disintegrated around him. Brooks Reed, the first guy in there. J.J. Watt finishes it up.
Those 5 sacks of Flacco, a career high. Jacoby Jones deep. Jones, number 33. Beautiful play by Danny Gorer. 9:34 to play in the fourth. Welcome back to Baltimore. You can see the Houston Texans 2 touchdowns down in the first quarter. They've only come back to win once in their team history. Play fake. Yates throwing sideline. He's got Andre Johnson, and that's complete just short of midfield.
Really a great play call by Gary Kubiak out of the I formation, which is a heavy run formation on 1st down. Look at a stutter, a go, and then a comeback route by Andre Johnson. That was beautifully executed. And another luxury is that TJ Yates has yet to be sacked in this game. His offensive line is getting it done in the pass protection department.
Yates to throw again. Screen. And Foster back at the 41-yard line. Ray Lewis making the stop.
Well, that's experience. That is experience in reading a play. And look at Ray break on the football when he realizes it's a screen to Arian Foster. It is just upfield acceleration. And while he missed on the left leg, he wasn't going to let go of the right.
So now Yates facing a big 2nd and 17. And the give is to Foster straight ahead. Lost the ball and covered at the 48-yard line.
Looked
by
like
Jacoby Jones.
he did. Interesting that Jacoby Jones got a chance to cover somebody else's fumble. And that's Haloti Ngata. His right hand got right in on the football, and he kind of chopped it out of there.
Haloti Ngata forced 2 fumbles during the regular season.
And that was extremely fortunate that that bounced in the direction of Jacoby Jones.
Yates needs the 41-yard line for a first down. Up the middle, intercepted inside the 30-yard line by Ladarius Webb.
And that time, T.J. Yates threw right into the teeth of the Ravens coverage. That is where you've just got to go someplace else with the football. You can't have better bracket coverage on Kevin Walter than Webb had underneath, Ed Reed had over the top, and T.J. Yates had no business letting that thing go.
And Webb makes his second interception of the day.
And Ray Lewis made the big play on the screen for a 7-yard loss that put Houston in a long yardage situation.
Now they're on 29-yard line. Ray Rice to the 31, maybe the 32.
T.J. Yates, who's had a pretty good day throwing the football, except for 2 glaring errors, where both times he threw directly to a Baltimore Ravens defender. And keep in mind, there were some other dropped interceptions in the first half. Ray Lewis dropped one, Ed Reed dropped one that he might have had, but those were the 2 that he's had to pay for.
Flacco under pressure, shakes one tackler, throws over the middle, complete to the 43-yard line, Dennis Pinnock, and a first down.
Well, talking to the Texans, they said, you know, Joe Flacco, for such a big guy, he can be slippery. He can be slippery in the pocket. He's got tremendous pocket awareness. And right there, you know, he just moves around enough. Always keeping his eyes downfield, and Pitta makes himself a target by just taking a knee.
First down now at their own 44. 6 minutes to play. Flacco to Bolden.
I think that's
Torrey Smith, my mistake.
And that's his first catch of the day. Looks like Jason Allen and Anquan Bolden are
See what happened between these
going at
two.
it. Allen just man coverage all the way. Oh well. How does I don't know how Anquan Bolden a little upset that he just got tackled by Jason Allen. How that didn't end up being a penalty, I'm not quite sure.
On 2nd and 1, this is Vontae Leach looking for the first down.
When I say a penalty, I don't know how that was a defensive holding, just tackling the guy.
And that is a first down, Pete Morelli says. As we duck under 5 minutes to play here in the 4th.
Clean in that in those 2 categories by the Ravens today. 0 turnovers, 0 penalties. Unfortunately, 5 sacks of the quarterback allowed. No points in the last 7 offensive possessions of the Ravens.
Rice. And Rice is stacked up at the 45.
The Ravens last scored with a little over a minute left in the first quarter.
Jason Allen and Anquan Bolden still haven't settled things.
Well, that's just, you know, Anquan Bolden coming out, and he's a blocker on that play. Hey, it's the NFL. Jason Allen, though, a big corner at 6'1", 204, a guy that, you know, feels he can go toe-to-toe with it. the extremely physical Bolden.
Flacco on the slant. Bolden. First down.
No, Bolden doesn't have the speed of some of those really fast receivers in the National Football League, but inside the numbers and in traffic, this is one tough son of a gun. And he has been doing it his entire career. Good after the catch, tremendous at getting through press coverage at the line of scrimmage because of how strong he is.
Flacco and the Baltimore offense eating up valuable time. We come up on 3 minutes. Rice to the 27. And Houston uses one of its 3 timeouts to stop the clock with 3:04 to play. Baltimore looking to put a lock on a trip to Foxborough.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Haywire, in theaters Friday, directed by Steven Soderbergh. And by Subway. Start the year right at Subway with a fresh twist on turkey. Subway, eat fresh.
3 minutes, 4 seconds, all that remains in this divisional matchup between Houston and Baltimore. The Ravens with a 4-point lead and the ball at the Houston 26.
And it's almost like this Ravens offense has realized the gravity of what's going on and kind of elevated their game a little bit. They've been hard-pressed to scratch out yards since the first quarter.
2nd and 5. Quick pass incomplete. Bolden again the target. And that will do the Texans a favor by stopping the clock at 3:01.
Yes, it will. And that call by Cam Cameron, in his mind, was an almost automatic completion, being a short pass, just that quick slant. And he did not envision that thing ending up an incompletion. And that incompletion really makes that timeout that was called by Gary Kubiak look pretty good.
3rd and 5. That's incomplete.
And that really makes it look good.
And here comes Billy Cundiff.
Well, Ray Rice tries to get out into the pattern, and in the opinion of the officials, he gets knocked down by D'Amico Ryans, A, before the ball was thrown, and B, within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage.
This is a 44-yard attempt by Cundiff. He was good from 48 earlier. On its way. Looks good.
Well, that was drilled by Cundiff. You know, those last 2 plays of the Ravens took a grand total of 8 seconds off the clock.
So now it's a 7-point lead for the Baltimore Ravens, and we'll remind you coming up on the Subway postgame show, JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Cowher, special guest, and Damakong Su for a wrap-up of this matchup. We'll hear from the winners and have all the latest playoff news and a special appearance by Subway's own Jared. That's all coming up on the Subway postgame show.
The other thing those 2 incompletions did is they allowed the Texans to keep their 2 timeouts, because Gary Kubiak had declared himself that he was going to burn them before the 2-minute warning. And so now Houston still has 2 timeouts and 2 minutes and 52 seconds in an attempt to tie this game.
Last night, Tom Brady and company, impressive in a 45-10 win over the Denver Broncos. Houston and Baltimore playing for the right to meet them in Foxborough, and it all begins next Sunday with a special edition of the NFL Today at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
In football, it always helps to be angry, and Tom Brady looked like one angry man last night. Now, did he play with a purpose or what?
Daniel Manning started this game with a 60-yard kickoff return. he'll return this one from the goal line. Across the 25 to about the 28-yard line. And now the pressure is on T.J. Yates, and we get a little pushing and shoving on the far side of the field.
Well, these are two teams. Let's be realistic. These are two teams that like to bully their opponents. So we got two punchers in the ring. So I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it. Remember, Antonio Smith had 2 personal fouls in the first meeting back in October.
In his young career, T.J. Yates has 2 fourth-quarter game-winning drives, one against Atlanta, the other against Cincinnati. Over the middle, got it! Across the 45, Andre Johnson, and a first down at the 46-yard line.
Well, Kerry Williams has the coverage on Andre Johnson, but it all starts with a pretty clean pocket and a good touch on the football by Yates over the linebacker.
2:20 to play. Yates, another rocket to Johnson. Lost the ball.
Was Johnson down? The official is saying yes, he is.
At the 38-yard line. And that brings us to the 2-minute warning.
Well, the official said that Johnson was down by contact. We'll take a hard look at this during the timeout. Welcome back to Baltimore, everybody. Ed Reed on the back of Andre Johnson, and Andre Johnson's knee right there is down on the ground. He still had possession of the ball. It was outside 2 minutes. Harbaugh would have had the challenge. Smart that he didn't.
2 minutes to play from the 38-yard line. Yates gonna go deep.
Yes,
Reed. Ed Reed.
Well, T.J. Yates threw one in the first half that Ed Reed had a chance to intercept, and he did not. He wasn't so fortunate the second time around.
His 8th interception in this, his 10th career playoff game.
And again, just a high floater, good coverage underneath by Jimmy Smith, and then Ed Reed doing what a free safety is supposed to do. Play the deep outside, and he comes over and makes a sure-handed pick. And it just looked like T.J. Yates had made up his mind. He was going to go to Andre Johnson come you-know-what or high water.
A minute 51 on the clock. All that stands between Baltimore and the trip to the AFC Championship game. Ray Rice outside, across the 10 to the 13.
Well, Houston still has 2 timeouts. They'll burn one now.
Ray Rice getting tough when he has to.
Yeah, look at that stiff arm right there. Boy, that was right into the face of Connor Barwin. You know what? Ed Reed, kind of fitting that he did that. And how about on the previous series, the Texans were forced into a long yardage situation because of a big negative play contributed by Ray Lewis. Interesting that late in the game, those two guys come up with big plays. What's new?
Again, I think back to what T.J. Yates said yesterday, and it'd be kind of weird lining up across guys like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, and he just got burned by one of the great safeties of all time. Rice to the 14. next Sunday. NFL Films rolls out an action-packed recap of all the divisional playoff games and previews the AFC and NFC championship games on the NFL Championship Chase. 2 Pro Bowlers, 2 future Hall of Famers, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis.
Doing the University of Miami pretty proud, aren't they?
Arian Foster. Boy, he's done his part today, hasn't he? 27 carries, 132 yards, and that's enough for a first down.
And that's, as they say, that. TJ Yates played pretty darn well today in his 7th professional start. But just a couple of occasions where he appeared to make up his mind that he was going to throw it to a receiver regardless of whether they were covered or not.
Arian Foster walking all by himself on the far side of the field, down at about the 15-yard line.
Greg, he brought it today.
And now
he brought it. 27.
Pete Morelli is going to come over and check something out.
Well, I don't know what he could be checking other than the spot, other than to see if they got enough yardage for the first down.
The measurements show that they did.
Called over to the monitor by the replay official upstairs because we're inside 2 minutes. Well, if he had to get to the 14,
it didn't appear he got there, did it?
When you look at where the ball is spotted right now, the nose of it appears to be on the 14-yard line. And looking at that replay, it did not look like Ray Rice got to the 14. These are always hard for the official to determine. He needs an absolutely clear-cut look at it. Let's take one more look at it. In traffic, there, right there, Ray Rice goes down. From that angle, it does not look like he got to the 14.
Here's Pete Morelli.
After reviewing the play, the runner was down with the ball in his left hand on the 13 1/3 yard line. Therefore, it's 3rd down and a quarter to go. And Houston still charged a timeout.
Well, the business at hand now for the Ravens is 2/3 of a yard.
Here we go. Ray Rice, Vontae Leach lining up behind Flacco. Huh? Diving forward is Vontae Leach. I don't think he got there.
I don't think he did either. No, he did not.
And they're going to wind the clock.
Vontae Leach, who's normally the blocker, not the ball carrier. And this Houston Texans defense just would not give up. So they're going to run down. The Ravens will let the play clock get all the way down. It'll get underneath a minute, get down to around 50 seconds or so.
You know, we're coming up on the final minute of play, and Baltimore still no penalty, no turnovers today. Jacoby Jones deep, and a timeout is called.
Baltimore, first team timeout, the 32nd timeout.
So Baltimore uses its second timeout with 53 seconds on the clock.
Well, this game is not over. That's what's going on right now, because Houston is going to get another chance, whether it's with a return that gives them good field position, maybe a return to get them some points. The decision now for the Texans is going to be, do they go after the block or do they try to set up the return?
Now, Jacoby Jones had his problems on the receiving end of punts earlier in this game.
The one thing about going for the block is that you put so much pressure on the punting team that you delay their departure in getting downfield. Sometimes the block ends up with a good return.
Sam Cook to kick it away. Here come the Texans. Didn't get there. Jones lets it bounce. And Danny Gorer, I believe, with the special teams play to kill the ball at about the 48-yard line of the Houston Texans.
Jerry Rosberg, their special teams coordinator, has to be pleased with the way his guys blocked right there underneath that all-out rush by the Houston Texans, and this game is not in the books yet, not even close.
TJ Yates, you see his numbers.
He better look off Ed Reed, though, if he's going to go downfield.
Houston with no timeouts. Yates throwing, and that's complete to Owen Daniels. Brought down by Ray Lewis.
And inbounds, that's the key. The clock continues to run.
From the 44. Yates batted down at the line of scrimmage. That'll stop the clock at 24 seconds.
Yates still has not been sacked in this game. And everyone in this stadium thinks this would be a mighty fine time for the first one.
Jacoby Jones to the far side of the field. Andre Johnson to the near side. Sideline pass incomplete. 20 seconds on the clock.
And now fourth down. Fourth down.
Order of business, a first down and a spike to stop the clock.
Yep.
Yates going to go deep. Down the far side of the field and incomplete at the goal line.
Now it's in the books. And Ed Reed. Ed is really sore. He goes up there to knock it down.
He's the one who got the left hand on it.
Boy, he came down and he landed really awkwardly. And it almost looked like his knee or something twisted and buckled a little bit when Ed Reed came down. Watch him come down right here as he goes up and over the top of Jones. All his weight comes down on that left leg. All of his weight came down on that left leg in an awkward way of landing.
And the fans here in the stadium just got a good look at what you just saw on your monitor.
Well, you can't say that Ed didn't sell out going after that football, climbing right up over the top. Well, now he's reaching for his foot, so maybe
for the first time since the year 2000, the Baltimore Ravens win a playoff game here at home. And it sends them on to Foxborough for the AFC Championship next Sunday against the New England Patriots.
And you got the sense, didn't you, Greg, talking to the Ravens, that they're going to go to Foxborough with confidence. They think they're good enough to go to Foxborough and win, but they're going to have to play better offensively than they played today.
Ray Lewis and that defense held when it had to. And now the Baltimore Ravens will move on to meet the New England Patriots for the AFC Championship. The winner there will face the winner of the matchup between San Francisco and whoever survives the Giants and Green Bay this afternoon.
Once again, the home team holds serve.
It's all over here. Baltimore wins it 20-13 for Dan Deerdorf and our entire crew. Greg Gumbel saying so long from Baltimore. We'll go back to New York studios for the Subway postgame show right after this. You have been watching the NFL on CBS.